Welcome to Payback POV, where you'll enjoy short, dramatic stories full of betrayal, heartbreak, and unforgettable revenge. We hope you have a great time listening, and don't forget to hit subscribe so we can bring you even more exciting tales. Now, let's begin today's story. The husband who stole our son's last chance. My son Lucas was diagnosed with leukemia. We had been waiting 3 long years for a bone marrow match. Finally, the doctor delivered the news we'd prayed for. They had found a perfect donor. But then my husband, Daniel Carter, dropped to his knees and begged me to give that chance away to his so-called true love, Vanessa Torres. "She's weaker than Lucas," he pleaded. "She can't wait anymore." I refused. This was Lucas's only chance to survive. And yet Daniel secretly emptied every dollar I had saved for our son's surgery, tens of thousands. I'd scraped together and paid for Vanessa's transplant instead. The hospital told me that because the deposit wasn't received in time, the donor had left. I desperately called the donor's assistant, only to receive one chilling reply. Miss Torres's surgery was a complete success. Mr. Carter doubled the payment. I looked at my son's pale face, still smiling faintly in his dreams, and calmly dialed 911. The sound of sirens grew louder until they wailed just outside the hospital. I didn't turn toward the window. I just stroked Lucas's fragile cheek, so thin, so soft, like butterfly wings. When 2 officers entered the room, I didn't even glance back. "Ma'am, we received a report. Is this..." "I'm the one who called." I cut them off, my voice flat as a dead lake. I stood, turned, and pointed straight at the man who had just rushed into the room, his face twisted with shock and irritation. My husband, Daniel Carter. It was him, Daniel Carter. He stole $300,000, the surgery fund I had saved for my son. That was Lucas's life. Each word hit the ground like a hammer of ice. Daniel froze, unable to believe it. He thought I'd called to negotiate, to beg the hospital, to beg the donor. Never once did he think I'd call the police. "Emily, have you lost your mind? What nonsense are you spouting?" He lunged toward me, trying to grab my hand, but the officers blocked him. "Sir, please stay calm, calm. She's my wife. She's not in her right mind." "What theft? That was our marital property," he shouted, his face contorted with fury. I almost laughed. A husband, when he begged me to sacrifice my son's life, had he remembered he was my husband? When he stole the only money that could save Lucas, had he remembered then? Now, suddenly, he remembered. I pulled out the documents I had prepared, bank statements from an account I opened before marriage, hospital papers clearly labeled for Lucas's treatment. He used my phone this morning and transferred every cent without my consent. The police checked, then turned to him. "Mr. Carter, please come with us to assist in the investigation." The click of the cuffs made his face crumble. He looked at me not with anger anymore but with fear. "Emily, are you really this heartless? All over money?" I said nothing. As the officers escorted him away, his eyes clung to me like a snake, even as his figure vanished down the hall. I wasn't insane. I was simply awake. An hour later, I was invited to the mediation room at the police station. Daniel's mother, Mrs. Carter, arrived with an army of lawyers, her presence as overbearing as a storm cloud. The moment she entered, she barked at me. "Emily, how long are you going to keep making a scene? You've disgraced the Carter family enough. Family matters don't belong in public." I stayed silent, curling into the chair, hugging my knees, lowering my head. My shoulders trembled faintly. The act of a frightened, helpless wife. It was the first mask I ever wore. To topple a mighty oak, you must first make it believe you are nothing more than a harmless vine. One of the lawyers stepped forward, voice clipped and formal. "Mrs. Carter, legally speaking, Mr. Carter's actions do not clearly constitute theft. Marital assets are shared. We recommend classifying this as a domestic dispute. If she signs a reconciliation agreement, the case will be dropped." Mrs. Carter waved her hand impatiently. "Enough talk, Emily, what do you want?" I lifted my tear-red eyes, voice trembling. "Mother, I don't know. I was just so scared. Lucas Seeing me fragile, her tone softened, feigning pity. "All right, I understand. Daniel was wrong, but he only acted for a friend." He lost his head for a moment. "A friend," I seized the word, feigning confusion. "A friend. Who could be more important than Lucas's life?" $300,000. Daniel said it was only a loan. But who is this friend, really? I knew her controlling nature. She would dig into it. She would discover the name Vanessa Torres and the successful surgery. The lawyer quickly slid a paper and pen toward me. Just sign here, and it all ends. You'll still be husband and wife, a happy family. My hand trembled, as if I were about to sign. But just as they thought I'd surrender, I raised my head and met Mrs. Carter's eyes. Mother, if I sign, will that bring Lucas back? The room froze. Her fake kindness cracked, replaced by cold fury. You dare use Lucas to threaten me? Tears rolled down my cheeks, timed perfectly. I'm not. I just don't know what else to do. The lawyer stepped in smoothly, voice softening. We understand your grief, but the boy is gone. You must look forward. Daniel is your husband, heir to the Carter fortune. He cannot have a criminal record. Here, consider this compensation. He pulled out a check, scribbled a figure, and slid it across the table. The zeros stretched so long I didn't bother to count. Roughly $750,000. To them, my son's life, 3 years of waiting, my agony was worth nothing more than a piece of paper. Mrs. Carter folded her arms, voice dripping disdain. Don't pretend anymore. Isn't it money you want? Take it. Sign, and this never happened. You'll still be Mrs. Carter. No one will mistreat you. I placed my hand lightly on the check, then pushed it back. The sound was soft, but it landed like a slap. You're mistaken, Mrs. Carter, I said, my voice no longer trembling, but steady and cold. This isn't about money. The first strike of my plan shattered their arrogance, their belief that wealth could solve everything. Mrs. Carter's face darkened. Emily, don't be greedy. $750,000, and it's not enough. You barren hen, marrying into this family was fortune enough. Now you dare set conditions. Her words sliced like knives, dripping venom. You think you're someone. If not for Lucas being Daniel's son, you'd never have set foot in this house. Now you use the boy to bargain. Disgusting. The lawyer's voice hardened to Emily. Think carefully. If you stay stubborn, you'll face consequences you can't bear. If Daniel gets a conviction, Carter Industries will shake. Can you handle that responsibility? Their threats and insults were exactly what I wanted. Without a word, I pulled out my phone, connected it to the big screen in the room. A single message appeared in bold. Miss Torres's surgery was a success. Mr. Carter paid double the cost, plus an extra $150,000. The room went silent. Mrs. Carter's face shifted from arrogance to shock, then to seething rage. The lawyer's calculating smirk collapsed into confusion. I had shifted the focus entirely. No longer about me smearing my husband for money, but about who he stole the money for. I dragged Vanessa Torres, Daniel's hidden white moonlight, out into the open, brutally and publicly. Looking at their ashen faces, I spoke quietly, almost to myself. So in the end, my son's life was worth less than a single strand of her hair. Daniel was released on bail. The Carter family's power was enough to bury the case as a mere domestic dispute. When he stormed into the house, I was packing Lucas's things. The hospital had issued a second critical notice. I was preparing to transfer my son to a private hospice, so he could leave this world with dignity. The door slammed open with a deafening crash. Daniel looked like a rabid animal, eyes bloodshot, charging at me. Emily, have you completely lost it? How dare you drag this to my mother? Now everyone knows. Are you satisfied? Not one word about Lucas, his own son. Only rage because his beloved Vanessa had been dragged through the mud. You're going to apologize to Vanessa right now. You'll tell everyone that message was fake, that you made it up out of jealousy. I froze, staring at him in silence. Even now, his first thought was protecting her purity. Seeing me quiet, he grew more frenzied, reaching for my phone. Give it here, I'll delete every trace. I didn't resist. I let him grab. But before he could touch it, I lifted my eyes toward the corner of the room where a small humidifier blinked with a red recording light. I'd been ready for this from the moment I called the police. I knew he would try to threaten, to destroy evidence. This was his last desperate thrash. And my second gift to him. Daniel Carter, I said, my voice calm enough to chill the air. You don't need to bother. He froze, suspicion in his eyes. I didn't argue. Instead, I pulled out 2 documents and tossed them on the coffee table. 1. A signed divorce agreement. 2. A lawsuit for division of marital assets. His pupils shrank. You. You planned this all along. I pointed at the annex attached to the lawsuit, a thick stack of bank statements. 5 years ago, you bought Vanessa a luxury condo downtown, $1.3 million, paid in full. 4 years ago, you sent her to Paris for Fashion Week, $180,000 in 3 days. 3 years ago, you invested $500,000 into her studio. Last year, you gave her a pink Porsche, $270,000. With each line, his face turned a shade paler. For 3 years, while I sat sleepless at Lucas's bedside, I gathered every scrap of proof. At first I thought it was just evidence of a wandering heart. Now it was the blade of my revenge. Daniel Carter. These transfers add up to $5.2 million, all siphoned into Vanessa Torres after we married. I have every record. Under U.S. marital law, I can claim half, $2.6 million. So no, I'm not just suing you for theft. I'm suing you for illegal transfer of marital assets. I want a divorce. And I want you to leave with nothing. He trembled, pointing at me, stammering, You knew all this time. You've been calculating against me. I smiled. For the first time in days, it was a real smile, icy and hollow. Calculating. Daniel, you're not even worth it. I rose and looked down at the man I'd once loved for 10 years. From the moment you stole the money that could have saved our son, I shed my old skin. I'm no longer your wife, no longer your family's dude-in-law. My world now has only two purposes: save my son and destroy you. The Carter family's influence was like an invisible net, smothering every attempt I made. My police report was dismissed as a family dispute. My divorce case was delayed endlessly with excuses about further evidence required. But for Lucas, every passing day was torture. His cancer spread, consuming his small body. The doctors pulled me aside, urging me to consider palliative care, to let him go without more pain. I fell to my knees, begging for time. I couldn't give up. I sold everything in my name: the condo I'd bought before marriage, my mother's jewelry, every cent of savings. I scraped together nearly $150,000 and brought Lucas to one of the top private genetic labs in the country, praying for a miracle treatment. Even a 1 in a million chance I had to try. But fate twisted the knife deeper. The report came back: inherited genetic defect from the father's line. Lucas's leukemia wasn't random. It was written into the Carter family's DNA. And then came the final blow. Due to unusually high genetic similarity among close relatives, unrelated donors may appear as full matches in bone marrow tests. The miracle donor match had never been a miracle. Vanessa Torres wasn't Daniel's soulmate. She was his half-sister, the illegitimate daughter of Daniel's father, which made her Lucas's biological aunt. The perfect donor match was no coincidence. It was the Carter family's darkest, dirtiest secret. I sank to the cold tile floor, clutching the report, the letters blurring in my vision. Hope was gone. All that remained was a hatred carved into my bones. That night, I copied the report 20 times. I mailed it anonymously to every major competitor of Carter Industries, and to every media outlet known for exposing scandals. I also sent Lucas's full medical file to a U.S. genetic research institute I'd once stumbled upon, framing it not as a plea, but as a rare case study. If Lucas's suffering could light the way for science, that would be his legacy. Within days, the storm erupted. Heiress scandal. Carter heir exposed for incestuous affair with half-sister. Tragic truth. Grandson's leukemia traced to Carter family's genetic curse. Billions lost as Carter Industries plunges amid scandal. Stocks crashed. Partners fled. The empire shook. Daniel begged, sobbed, even knelt at hospital doors. His mother called me, screaming curses one moment, begging the next, but I no longer felt anything. Then, just as I thought the last page had turned, an email arrived. From that U.S. genetic lab, they invited Lucas to join a groundbreaking gene therapy trial project, NOAA, covering every expense. For the first time in years, my heart pounded with something I thought I'd lost forever: hope. I left the Carter family behind. I left America's tabloids screaming their names in disgrace. I flew across the ocean with my son. A year later, in California, Lucas's hair had grown back thick and black. He laughed while building Lego towers, his cheeks flushed with life. I enrolled in university as a part-time student, studying genetic medicine. From a broken housewife, I was rebuilding myself. Years passed. Lucas thrived strong, healthy, even joining his school's football team. I became a researcher, then a recognized expert, leading trials that would one day save countless children like him. And the Carters. Their empire collapsed. Daniel and his father faced prison for fraud, bribery, and embezzlement. By then, I no longer cared. Because the truest revenge isn't their destruction. It's my rebirth. Standing on stage years later at a World Genetics Summit, I ended my speech with words that echoed through the hall. With this research, thousands of children like Lucas will no longer suffer from the moment they're born. Thunderous applause filled the room, and when I returned to my hotel that night, my teenage son threw his arms around me and laughed. "Mom, you were amazing. You're my hero." I smiled. Because it was true. I no longer needed Daniel's apology, or anyone's pity. I had already won, not over them, but over fate itself. I was reborn in the light. And that was enough.
Welcome to the show where the secrets unfold. Stories of betrayal, whisper and bold. Heartbreak and revenge, they collide in the night. Dramatic confessions in shadows and light. This is Payback POV, where the tales hit hard like destiny. Stay a while, let the stories flow. Don't forget to like and hit subscribe below. Every scandal's a spark, every heartbreak's a flame. Unforgettable endings, you'll remember the name. We'll take you through love, through the lies they weave. Every twist, every turn, you just won't believe. This is Payback POV. Revenge and rhythm, pure energy. Thanks for listening, come back soon. We'll draw new tales neath the blood red moon.
Thanks for tuning in to Payback POV. Hit subscribe and join us for more unforgettable stories of betrayal, heartbreak, and sweet revenge.
This is Payback POV, where the tales hit hard like destiny. Stay a while, let the stories flow. Don't forget to like and hit subscribe below.
Every scandal's a spark, every heartbreak's a flame. Unforgettable endings, you'll remember the name. We'll take you through love, through the lies they weave. Every twist, every turn, you just won't believe.
This is Payback POV. Revenge and rhythm, pure energy. Thanks for listening, come back soon. We'll draw new tales neath the blood red moon.
Thanks for tuning in to Payback POV. Hit follow, hit subscribe, and join us for more unforgettable stories of betrayal, heartbreak, and sweet revenge.